Good morning and welcome. Today we reflect on the Gospel of St. John. Jesus revealed himself again to his disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. He revealed himself in a way. Together were Simon, Peter, Thomas, called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, Zebedee's sons, and two others of his disciples. Simon Peter came to them. "I'm going fishing." They said to him, "We will also come with you." And so they went out and got into a boat, but that night they caught nothing. And when it was already dawn, Jesus was standing on the shore. But the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, "Children, have you caught anything to eat?" And they answered him, "No." So he said to them, "Cast the net over the right side of the boat, and you will find something." So they cast it and were not able to pull it in because of the number of fish. And so the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." And when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he tucked in his garment, for he was lightly clad, and jumped in the sea. The other disciples came in the boat, for they were not far from the shore, only about 100 yards, dragging the net with the fish. When they climbed out on the shore, they saw a charcoal fire with fish on it and bread. And Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you just caught." So Simon Peter went over and dragged the net ashore, full of 153 large fish. Even though they were so many, the net was not torn. And Jesus said, "Come and have breakfast." And none of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" because they realized it was the Lord. Jesus came over and took the bread, gave it to them, and in like manner the fish. This was how the third time Jesus was revealed to his disciples after being raised from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord. So often in prayer, I find myself over and over again evaluating the quality of my prayer by how I feel, either during it or immediately after. Do I feel close to God? Do I think he's listening, which I usually judge by getting what I ask for right away? And yet none of that is really what prayer is about in one sense. It's the beginning, but it's not the focus necessarily. I think this gospel underscores that the apostles were fishermen by trade. That was their profession. And so Peter announces to them, "I'm going fishing." No big surprise. And they said, "We'll go with you." Not a big surprise. And they're doing what they do every day and have been doing every day for their lives. And in the midst of that ordinariness, they see a man on the shore. Just an ordinary, one of their neighbors perhaps, they thought. And he asks a normal question. "Have you caught anything?" They say no. Then there's a little clue. The disciple whom Jesus loved, because of that love, perhaps, recognized the Lord first and tells Peter. The others don't seem to react, but Peter is Peter. He jumps in the water and almost drowns. That's Peter. from 0 to 90 in 3 seconds. But that's who Peter is. So all of this is the ordinary activities of the day. When they arrive on shore, dragging the fish after them, catching up with Peter, there's an interesting line. They saw the fire, the charcoal, and fish. Jesus already had the fish. He didn't need them. He wanted to share with them. And they gather and have this meal. And because they were so conscious of his presence, they were afraid to ask him anything. That gives me a little insight. When I'm caught up in my own concern, when I'm worried about my situation, I'm not open to God necessarily. And yet the apostles, caught up in the fishing and then not catching anything all night, notice a person, and perhaps that person was in need, and they reach out. And in that exchange, they discover the presence of God once again, the raised Jesus, the resurrected Jesus. And they're motivated. They run to him. And yet, because they're aware of his presence so keenly, they're almost afraid to talk to him. So maybe I have to begin evaluating my prayer from a different point of view, almost opposite. That the purpose of my prayer, whatever it may be, is about getting in touch with God, about being aware that he's there, that he loves me, that he's present to me, that he's concerned for my needs, not necessarily the same needs that I think I need, if I can say that, but rather the needs that feed me spiritually. And it's always in the ordinariness, or at least usually, because I really can't handle divinity directly. I get overwhelmed. I get speechless. My experience of prayer, whether it's worthy or not, that's not the point. Am I open? Am I listening? Do I reflect? Do I experience God in my life? Not in every moment, not in everything. I get a little nervous when I hear people say, well, this is God talking to me. I guess, I'm not going to deny it, but my experience, and maybe me, is I always experience God's presence after the fact. The phrase I like to use is in the rearview mirror, that at the moment, almost never, but always, when I look back in the ordinariness of my life, I see God there. I realize that I got through a certain situation, or that I responded, or more often than not, someone comes up to me and says, you said this or you did that, and it made a difference. And I often don't have any memory of it. But there is God. He's always there. That's what I have to work on. Live in the moment, the God moment, which is every moment of life, in the most ordinary of circumstances, like these professional fishermen in the middle of the night, realizing they've caught nothing. It seems like a waste. And yet the results, they encounter their God, their Jesus. They break bread with him. They share fish, which he has provided. They once again are intimate in contact with him. And then he's gone again, back to the ordinary and the normal. And the next day, I'm going to try to make contact again. That's what prayer is. Me trying to make contact with the Lord, and then waiting in faith and perseverance. And then, in my case, looking in the rearview mirror and experience God's presence and love. I hope your day is continues to be one of prayer for one another, and that you and your family and friends remain safe. God bless.